All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM here. Happy Monday and happy start of Thanksgiving week, and which should hopefully be a successful trading week here, right? Where we can continue compounding and building off what has been a choppy, challenging, but relatively profitable period here in the market. And definitely looking forward to seeing basically how things go, right, in the next month or so, right, as we kind of creep up towards Santa Claus rally time. Was looking a little bit at my P&L basically from last year at this time and kind of comparing it to my P&L around this time. And honestly, it's very similar, right? All things considered, very, very similar. Similar type of price action. Similar type of kind of choppiness, similar type of like one day up, one day down, one day up, one day down. And there's nothing really wrong with that, right? I think from a certain perspective, price action is kind of seasonal, and that's the way it goes sometimes. You always anticipate smoother conditions than you get. You always expect worse conditions than you get, and the truth is always somewhere in the middle. So no real complaints about how things are going. Maybe not making as much as I would hope, right, or as much as I would like. It'd be great to be back to having those 100K months, but I'll be there at some point, right? So really, in reality, it's all about not pressing, not like overextending myself, and not thinking about P&L first, right? It's being obsessed over the quality of my process, gamifying those results, right, instead of my P&L, and then judging myself based on how well basically I behaved the way that I said I was going to behave, right? It's the trader that remains in control that wins, and the trader that gives up that control in pursuit of P&L always loses everything, inevitably, right? So the primary focus always, and I like to stress this a lot on Mondays specifically, is that I can always learn from my trades. I can always learn from my mistakes. I can always learn from my wins. And I can always force myself to get better. But if I choose to judge my improvement based on a number, then I'm going to skip all of those other steps, and I'm actually going to degrade my performance long term, because I'm going to start to break rules. I'm going to start to chase trades that are outside of my system. I'm going to start to make mistakes that don't actually set me up to be profitable. And so instead of then being able to play a long-term game and to survive basically the variance of the market, I am unable to then survive that P&L roller coaster and survive that mental anguish, because the P&L will always feel worse, right? And I'll always feel like I left money on the table, or I'm not making enough, or I'm losing too much, or whatever it might be. And that then just exaggerates my problems. So the fastest way, right, to actually slow yourself down, a little bit of an oxymoron, but the fastest way to delay achieving your goals is to have a P&L obsessed mindset and to chase a number instead of chasing the quality of your process. And you know what? If it takes you longer than you expect, so be it, right? Plan for the worst, hope for the best, and the market will then reward you more than you could have ever imagined. Look, I've been trading for 12 years, a little over 12 years now. Almost like 6 years to the day since I joined the fund I worked at. But certainly, this journey has not been a straight line, right? It's not been a straight line higher. It's not been a straight line lower. There's been lots of ups and downs. There's been lots of good times. There's been lots of challenging times. And there's been lots of like confidence killing, right? If you want to call it that. And what I have realized is that I become my most confident version of a trader, where I feel like I can survive anything, I can put up with anything, I can deal with any ups and downs, as long as I basically follow my process and I recover from my mistakes, right? It is the bouncing back from previous errors or previous pain points and making new all-time highs in my portfolio, that makes me feel great as a trader, right? That's what makes me feel confident. That's what makes me feel as if I can play this game forever. The feeling of a big win or the feeling of a big loss fades into the darkness, right? It fades into the darkness of time. You forget about how euphoric you felt after a big win, and you forget how dumb you felt after a big loss. And so it is the bouncing back and the recovering and the steady progress, right? Steady as she goes after a challenging period that ultimately reinforces belief as a trader. And I want you all to commit to that decision, right? To commit to deciding that, hey, I'm going to make mistakes. Those are going to be okay. That's fine. But it's understanding that bouncing back, recovering, getting over your mistakes, that's what makes you profitable. That's what makes you green. And the more that we can fight back against greed, the more that we can fight back against that desire to rush, right? To skip steps, to take shortcuts, to do all those sort of things, that the sooner we actually get on the right path and the sooner we actually accomplish what we're looking for. Shortcuts in trading only actually take you the long way round, right? I've spoken to so many people that, have lost money using trading bots that were promising 10% a day, right? Or went 3 times bigger position sizing on a trade that they thought they couldn't lose, or ignored their stop loss because they thought, hey, I'm going to get bailed out. And unfortunately, that always sets you back more than you want. And then you got to work twice as hard, right, to get back to square one. So commitment here, right, is to not allow yourself to fall in love with that trap, right, with that short-term dopamine, and to commit to that long-term process. So Monday rant out of the way. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everything looks good on the stream here this morning. And yeah, you're all ready for what should hopefully be a interesting, successful, and profitable trading week. A few things for us to just talk about from like a schedule perspective. Everyone can hear me, right? Just double checking. Not seeing any chat here this morning, so just sanity checking. Good. So markets are closed on Thursday, right, for U.S. Thanksgiving. It is a market holiday on Thursday, right? And then it's a half day on Friday. So I will not be trading on Friday. I'm actually going to be doing some travel plans, going to go see some friends in the UK. And then I'm also not going to be trading on Monday next week because I'm going to be flying back from London. So that's posted in the stream schedule. But yeah, just want to let you guys know. And yeah, little heads up, right? Historically, this Thanksgiving week is relatively bullish for stocks. Something like 72, 73% of the time ends up being kind of like a low volume grind. So we are anticipating probably a little bit more of a bullish tape than a bearish tape. And last week, right, we basically had like an inside bar week or like a week of consolidation. And we're looking, right, for basically a breakout of that. And if that happens on thin volume, happy to trade that, right, and be able to take advantage of some of these moves. So certainly seems like we're setting up here for that Santa Claus rally. And let's see if that ends up being the case here. And we can really take off and finish off the year with an absolute bang. So with that being said, let's start mapping things out here. Let's figure out what we want to do here this morning. And yeah, let's have ourselves a fantastic trading day. So first things first, good morning, everybody. Good morning, DTR members. Good morning, DTR guests. Hope you're all having yourselves a great day. If you have any questions, obviously, please do not hesitate to pop them in the chat. We'll do my best to answer your questions as well as I can. And yeah, let's have ourselves a great trading day. So economic calendar, right? It's going to be a relatively busy week, right? As everything's going to be compressed onto Tuesday and Wednesday, right? So we got Fed minutes on Tuesday. We've got a huge amount of 10 a.m. data on Wednesday. And then today, for whatever reason, nothing scheduled. I don't know why they don't pace things out, but if I could answer those questions, I'd probably be a much richer man. So in general, Yeah, today's probably like the clearer session, and we'll see how things kind of shape up for the remainder of the week. But we are going to have to be a little bit conscious of our economic calendar, basically make sure we're not doing anything stupid. All right. So, what's the count here on the ES? Let's start there, and let's set ourselves up for a successful trading day. Good morning, Jack, Norm, Jeff, Mike, Eric, Kenneth, Joe, Robert, Constantine. Hope you're all having yourselves a great start to the AM here. And yeah, spot on, guys. 2 out of 3 here to the upside without volume, right? So we've got trending price action, like a little bit of a gap, right, which we don't see too often on the futures. But a pretty big move, certainly testing back up towards all-time highs. And so that would be the starting point, right? We're looking for an ORB fake out, maybe like a gap fill and go type thing, right? And a breakout, right, towards ATH. That's 60.50, right, we'll call it. We're at 60.32 here this morning. So I'm going to go 60.50 as my starting point. My 2R red line should end up ultimately being that 60.40 range. So we'll go 60.60, 60.70, 60.90, and then 6100. Be a monster if we can get there. To the downside here, right, a fake out at all-time highs and then an attempt to fill the gap back down towards 6,000 wouldn't be unsurprising. And so we'll say 60.10, 6,000. Still find talking about the prices in futures clunky for whatever reason, but we'll figure that out. 59.90. And we'll go down towards like 59.50. Again, more of a bullish bias than a bearish bias here today. Like I said, historically, Thanksgiving week, ultimately a relatively bullish market. Make sense? All right, sweet. And Q, how we feeling? What's the count here? Yeah, inside bar spot on, right? So we're looking for consolidation breakout. Oh, I should say, if we're going to be bearish, I want to see bigger volume than on Friday. So apply a slightly stricter standard for a downside case, slightly easier standard for upside continuation. Okay, so inside bar here, right? We're looking for an ORB fake out, bounce off of 2,900. Then a breakout towards, and we'll go like 22, right? 21.2. And then pushing back up towards all-time highs. So 23, 21.4, and go 21.5, 21.6. Cool. And then same thing, right? We could do a little fake out here. And we'll say 2,900, right, as our starting point. And that's plenty of space. All right, CL. Hey, good morning, SG. What's the count here? Good morning, Hal. Yeah, 2 out of 3 here to the upside with volume, right? Pretty big gap down. So after our trend line breakout there on volume, we're pulling back and kind of retesting that trend line here. So we'd like to see that act as support for a move back up towards 71.50. So we'll go ORB fake out at the trend line, right? Then breakout past the trend line. And so we're targeting 71.50, 72, 72.50, 73, and then we can go up towards like 75. And then to the downside here, right, it's an NA, 2 out of 3 to the upside with volume. So we do think we've got trending PA, so we're not going to look to fade this move here until we get some sort of proven otherwise. All right, Apple, 2 out of 3 here to the upside without volume, so very similar narrative to what we have on ES. And we're looking for basically a breakout away from this range past, say, 230 and some change. So I'm going to say a 232 breakout. And then potentially this could be like a Bollinger Band reversal type setup. Good morning, Brian. All right, Tesla, 3 for 3 here to the upside. I mean, this thing's a lunatic recently. We're at 362.50, so we'll look at 363 breakout. And no bear case here. And pretty hard to short these narrative names recently. So no reason to force them. All right, Microsoft, inside bar. I feel like I'm starting to draw a lot of lines on this. Here's kind of like your upper trend line. He may be starting to look like a wedge, right? So we need to get over 420. Nice. And we'll call it a wedge breakout, right? And then a breakdown here under 410. So not too much changing on that inside bar. Upside seems to be a little bit more likely here this AM. So let's see if we can get some good cooperation. Generally don't like to see inside bars on increasing volume, because if bulls were strong, right, why couldn't they make higher highs? So let's make sure that we see a pretty impressive volume standard before we trust this narrative. Okay, Amazon inside bar on a weak volume standard, right? It's a little bit more realistic. And so we're looking for kind of a trend line breakout here, so over 204. Right, or a breakdown here still under that 195.80, we'll call it 186 or 196. Okay, AMD inside bar gapping up here, looking to break out from this pattern. And so we're still looking for that call it 141 at this point, right, as a breakout. And then to the downside here, under 135. So not too much changing. But yeah, let's see if this thing's got some oomph. Okay, NVIDIA, inside bar. Nailed it. Can't spell inside today. All right, inside bar. We need to get over still Thursday's range, right? Or breakdown under Thursday's range. So under 140.50. Or a breakout right above, what is that, 140, 152, wow. So for those of you who want to play this post earnings, this might be setting up slowly as your possible dip buy opportunity, right? Finding some support off of that trend line. But yeah, this is tough to day trade, I think. Probably easier as a swing trade. Okay. Well, meta, right? Still inside bar here. Man, every time today. All right. So we are looking for that breakout over 570 for a move up towards the upper trend line. And yeah, that's got space. And then to the downside here, would have to reject off that red box or under, right, 550. So probably easier with a bull case than a bear case. Okay, Netflix. Inside bar again. Lots of consolidation there on Friday. And we're still looking for that 910 breakout. We'll call it 90, 908 breakout. And that's pretty much it. To the downside, again, not really any reasons to want to fade this move here. Right, every period of consolidation has been bought up, right, in the last, say, month or so. So I've got no reason to be very aggressive trying to fade this until I get some sort of confirmation. And then Google, inside bar as well. A little bit maybe easier for a bear case. Man, what the heck's wrong with me? Inside bar. So a bull case, you have to get over 174, right, a little bit of a ways away here this morning. And bear case, right, would be a breakdown here under 163.50. So the general theme that we're seeing right across the board is like consolidation, right? And we want to see a breakout away from that consolidation and looking to kind of push back up towards all-time highs. Relatively consistent story here generally. And that's going to make it a little bit easier for us to identify, right, trending price action. So last week we saw a bit of a divergence between our indexes. Today we've got a cleaner narrative here, and that should give us an opportunity for some good upside continuation and hopefully some smooth PA. So that's really what I'm cheering for here. You know, last Monday didn't get a trade. Hopefully this Monday we can get something that's high conviction. And yeah, we'll see basically where markets want to shape up or how kind of, you know, narratives want to kind of come together. Really the goal here for this week is to make just a lot of good decisions. I would say if I'm thinking about my trading there a little bit last week, I was fighting a bit, right? Like swimming against the current or like swimming in some rapids where there was a lot of kind of like getting bounced back, you know, side to side before eventually getting some moves. And it'd be nice to not have to fight that way and exert that much energy, right? So really trying to be more proactive than reactive here today. And we'll see if we can get ourselves some clean narratives. So definitely looking like we should have some opportunities, but not going to be hyper aggressive or trying to force anything until I get clean PA. And yeah, the more consistent this narrative is, easier it is for that to happen. You know, with that being said, right, Monday appears to be the clearest day from a market news perspective. So maybe this ends up being our opportunity to get that nice trend day here today. And then just obviously the big concern, right, at least on the indexes, is that the move has maybe happened here overnight, because that's a relatively big gap up. And just make sure that we're basically not getting caught, right, chasing something that's already potentially a little bit extended. So we've got 3 minutes or so until market open. So you guys know the deal. Time to make a quick cup of coffee, spend a few minutes here visualizing a successful trading day, and then we'll jump back on here in a few minutes and do a quick little rundown here as the session is starting. So if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. We'll make sure I answer them as we kind of shape up here and get going. But otherwise, looking for a nice breakout and a strong trend day to take advantage of. So we'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll talk then. All right, so we're back. That's market open here, right? Decent amount of sellers here to start the session off. So again, seeing maybe a little bit of dip buyers, right? If we're worried about maybe the size of that gap up, seeing a little bit of sellers lose early would be a strong indication, right, of some continuation. So it's not going to be a rush to make any decisions here this morning. But let's just make sure, right, that we do get some strong price action and that narratives are consistent, right? A little bit of a fade here this AM. Again, wouldn't be crazy. So let's see how it behaves, right, and how it goes. Any questions here, team? Any questions? Nothing too crazy here, Jack, to be honest. One thing I've been trying to focus on here a little bit, right, is basically just cutting trades that don't behave the way I want them to as early as I can. So the sooner I can get rid of trades that aren't moving the right way, that's fine. If I have to take a couple $100, $200, $300 losses instead of a $500 loss, that sets me up just to be a little bit more profitable in the future. Basically just trying to not get too emotionally attached to trades in the job, because I think that's how you get tunnel vision. But no, from like a process perspective, everything looks reasonable still in my end. And that's good dip buyers, right? So that's pretty good. It's good volume. One thing that this will be a project for me over Christmas, but I was been reading. I've been talking about this book for a while now, but been reading Leo Melamed on the markets, and he's like one of the pioneers of the futures trading space. He's one of like the OGs on the CME, and what they all talk about, what all these guys talked about, is basically trading breakouts. Developing a bias for the day, right? And then trading basically breakouts away from the opening range instead of getting that confirmation. So there might be some ways to change up a little bit, like the pyramid technique. So, here, for example, this would be your initial entry, right, on a breakout from that 729. And then, maybe you'd want to stop loss a little bit lower. And then, if you get that confirmation, that ends up being your opportunity to pyramid in. But yeah, they were doing that with like the 30. Leo Melamed on the markets. And so, that's kind of how they were all trading in the pits. So certainly could be interesting, but that'll be something to back test in practice, right? Paper trading that for a week before executing that. But that's definitely been something that's been playing around in my head a little bit as like the next evolution. And maybe that would be a strategy better with micros than minis. But yeah, to be determined. So we'll play around with that, but always, right, trading for me is a constant evolution, right? So I definitely want to take, over the Christmas period, I'll take a week off. And, when I'm hiding from my family, I'll be deep in the back testing and playing around and seeing what's working, what's not working, right? Being able to do, like what essentially is creating for me the most positive outcome. Like even something like this. So, one thing I've noticed is very often that first big breakout of the day ends up being like a really good entry, even if it's on decreasing volume. So again, right, something to think about here a little bit. Just back testing various reactions to how price action moves, because if PA is giving us different ideas or different opportunities, you know, it's hard to ignore those clues. The way that I was thinking about it would be that the first candle would have to be bigger volume than what we saw yesterday, right? To then be able to play that breakout opportunity, essentially. So if I have that, like, you know, big volume increase and I have all those narratives kind of ticked off already, that would be pretty interesting. But we'll have to play around with it. Just a theory right now. It's, you know, in my notebook as things to test, pretty much. But it's a constant evolution, right? How I'm trading now is different than how I was trading last year. It's different than how I was trading 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 6 years ago. And there's just certain constants that stay, right? So for me, volume has always been the most important element, right? From a technical perspective. And then from like an execution perspective, it has always been risk reward ratios and risk management. And if you're really consistent with your risk and you're targeting risk reward ratios that justify taking that risk, then the setup trigger itself kind of becomes a little bit overrated. And so it's thinking about, yeah, price action from that context of, okay, how can I see, or how can I execute these ideas without having to screw up basically the math behind that thesis. So we'll keep playing around with that and seeing how things go. But yeah, just a thought process for now. So still decreasing volume on that breakout. Same thing with on CL. So slow start here this morning. And we'll see how this thing keeps behaving. Really, what I want to maybe think about optimizing, this is just to finish off that thought a little bit, is how can I set myself up to get more pyramids, right? That's basically what I'm trying to do. Because if I get 2 pyramids a week, for example, then I can take, you know, my win rate can be 5% and I'll be wildly profitable. So obviously, right, I want my win rate to be higher than that. But if I can set myself up to have that kind of margin for error, makes it really easy to be green. So that's really where the thought process is, because that for me right now is the most profitable part of my strategy. And I want to get less of that chop in between those trades where I can build up my sizing. So thinking about how I can execute that better and have more opportunities in that context, I think will ultimately make me a lot more money in the long term. And so I want to try to solve for that problem at some point here. Yeah, good question. And so pyramid for me is a way of building up my position sizing without ever actually increasing my risk. So if I can start a trade off with one contract, and then as I get follow through, I can add more and more contracts without, with my average price always being below my stop loss, then I can build up to 15, 20, 30, 50, 100 contracts without ever having more than, you know, $500 worth of risk. And so that's kind of like the sweet spot that I always want to work towards, or put a lot of focus towards. Because if I can get that extra sizing without extra risk, I really skew the risk reward ratios in my favor and maximize my P&L potential. So let's say hypothetically, right, I bought in at 60.30. Well, right now we're at 60.38. So if I bought another contract here at 60.38 and I placed my stop loss to be the low of this candle, then I'm double my original position sizing while protecting a 2-point win. And that would be a pretty incredible situation. So we're getting good breakouts here on NQ and ES. I'm going to be looking at these now. I think NQ may be slightly better. So we're targeting a move towards this red line. Okay, so stop loss would have to be 20.59, 21.59. Just setting everything up here. And as is, this would be a one contract play. So again, let's see where it finds support, right? Don't need to rush this, or I don't need to get faked out to start my week. Okay, so now stop would have to be a little bit lower. We'll say 53.75. So again, adjust that now. And let's see if we can get big pop again back above 77, and then a little pullback right into 75.50. Okay, now 51 stop loss. Even lower, potentially 48. So again, still no reason to have jumped in here yet. But that's a better bounce. And like I said, this would be a one contract play for now. Okay. So it'd still be a 48.25 stop. I'm just going to have it as 48. So as is, right, risking about 450 bucks. It's when the roll happens, Patrick. I trade just the forward contract until the roll happens. So that'll happen, you know, mid-December. So we'll make that switch then. Basically, once I'm confident that the forward contract, right, has more volume than the current contract, and that generally happens a couple days prior to the roll or the day of the roll. You know, generally my belief is just keep it simple, stupid, right? So the more complicated I make my executions, the more likely I am to have some mistakes. So I just want to keep it simple. Again, still no reason to jump in here yet. Again, this is maybe now going to have to be the low vol pullback technique. So 23.50 stop loss. Still just watching here. Still just watching. No reason to have pulled the trigger yet. No 10 a.m. data, so we got lots of time here. Then alternatively, right, it could be stop loss at the midpoint here, and then entry of a retest of the opening range. Let's see. That might be the better one. And again, that's just low vol pullback, medium aggression entry, stop loss at O or B midpoint, right? Which is that red line here on the graphic. Still too much risk as of this moment, right? Still risking about $700 here. That's too much. Trying to get a little bit better. Still $600 though. So now we want to watch this reaction to 21,000. That's a good bounce. I gotta find a jumper here. 1 second. So we know a lot of that volume is going to be dip buyers here so far. We want to make sure this candle closes pretty weak. Not super convincing. Hard to argue that that's the low vol pullback here as of yet. Yep, good decision here. Good decision. Now we want to think about a possible reversal scenario. Right, if we've seen every possible bull case we've had get invalidated, we'd be looking now for probably a bear case. And so now stop would be 21.17. Getting a little bit punchy. It's double the risk that you'd like. So ideally, right, this would then be wait for this candle to close, right, and reset up for us. I mean, it should go increasing volume here. We're starting to see some dip buyers, potentially a little fake out lower. Let's see how this closes. We need to close under the opening range low. So 50 seconds. Whew. Okay, 20 seconds to go. Second biggest volume of the day, right? It's definitely pretty telling. And ideally, this would be an aggressive entry technique. Yeah, okay. So let's see where this thing finds support before breaking down again. As is, stop loss 29.40. Okay, now a little bit higher, 948.75. Call it 949. All right, so I'm going to start to look for an entry here in a second. All right, guys, I am in 928.25. A little bit of slippage on my entry. And it's just one contract here. Still in. All right, there we go. Took the stop there. Interesting. So 5 min could still be in play here potentially. That was minus 406.22. And I didn't like that entry right away. I don't think I don't think the setup or the thesis is dead. So I might get another opportunity here. Would have faked me out on every time frame. Not the start I wanted. Okay, this might be a multi-candle setup here. I do have another opportunity potentially. So it's gonna have to be, again, still that same 949, call it 950 stop loss. So we'd still need a decent pullback. Okay, but if your entry timing isn't perfect, right, you cannot assume they're going to get bailed out. So on that first trade, entry timing wasn't perfect. But I do think this is still in play. That's the move we wanted initially. Bit annoying. We need like a 930 on this 5 or, right, a potential reset here on the 3. Okay, so again, let's watch this here. It's got to close under previous low of day. Which it did. So I'm going to go 923 stop loss. That would be great. Or, right, this would still be potentially that 30 entry on the 5. Now, maybe preferred again still on the 3. It'd be 927.50 stop. Okay, so 948.50 stop. Still just watching here. Still just watching. Okay, good rejection. Like to see a little fake out above that inside bar high. So that's the point where I want to watch this reaction. So if we can get stuffed here, this will be an opportunity for an entry. So far, no. So no entry here yet. No entry. And at this point now, right, this tip kind of telling me potentially a failed breakdown. Interesting now. Could that shelf be the stop? That 960 where we saw the original fake out occur? 3 rejections at that price. I mean, that's definitely logical. Just think here for a sec. Low volume on that retest. Risking 20 points. Ooh. Wow. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So we'd like to see it close right under now previous low. Same thing with ES. 50 seconds to go. I probably feel like I just missed that entry at like 940. And 11, still early. Man, that first fake out's mean. Okay, so again, watching here, right? Stop loss. Let's see if it finds support off of 900. Let's say that it probably did. Okay, looking for a little pullback here. Ah, bugger. Still in play. All right, guys, I'm in 2880. Stop at 898. One contract. Oh, this is not what I wanted. All right, I'm out again. Ooh, I've been lured in twice. So, moved 5 points, then faked me out. A little bit of a frustrating start here. Minus 425.84 on that trade. That is a slap. It's on 831 or 832. Still within one trade here, comfortably. That feels like thesis has been okay. Timing has been wrong on both entries. And then the best entry I've missed twice. Just gotta fight that feeling just a little bit. Definitely a little part of me that wants to Costanza this. Again, 24-point risk. Got to get a 40-point move to be green, which is pretty small. How's this 10-minute close? Oh, don't be slow now. Okay, so again, still watching short here. Need an entry above 903. And 13. Nine 13's been hit twice, 3 times maybe. and then rejected. So again, watching that area as a possible overreaction flush spot. Then it's only bouncing like, 1 or 2 points. Okay, so I'm watching here again. That was a good rejection. Still like 4 points away. I'd like to buy an overreaction pop higher. Or sell short, I should say, just to be clear. Okay, so just watching here. This is almost within 2 contract range. Too fast. So is this now going to be the fake out? Fake out first, now breaking down. Where's the resistance? I'm trying to watch this as carefully as I possibly can. 916, 917, 918. Maybe 33, call it 34, right? There's a stop. So still watching here, still watching. Trying to get the best possible entry I can humanly find. 22.75, that's 10 points. Dan got stopped at that trend line. Feels like a fake out is coming. Trendline breakout, volume back up above those highs. A lot of dip buyers. I think it might be more of a long, to be honest, at this point. Because I've seen bears fail so many times at that 900. Plan was ORB fake out off of 9. I think that's where I'm going to go. Find support here, and it's got to bounce. All right, so it's looking okay. Still don't know if I've seen enough of a bounce off that trend line. Make me think it won't be a fake out. Better. Worse. That's now big volume on the 3. Again, this would have faked me out short if I went. Oh, they. Okay. So back in business here, looking at the short. 916.50 stop loss. Okay, we're going to get a gentle pullback here. Ah, you bugger. Okay, so still watching. Being careful with this low pullback. Hit 94.75. Okay, guys, I'm in short 96.25. And my entry was basically once it rejected at 900, right? Clicked buy at that point. Now I'm going to watch this like a hawk. Because the early reaction on early trades has been a little bit of a challenge. So making sure I don't get faked out here, right, with all my enthusiasm. But so far, so good. We'd like to see it break down here under low of day, right, with some oomph. It's a 7-point sell-off once it hits 90, so I think we're in good shape. This might be an opportunity to pyramid as well. A little bit more stressed out about this morning than I was expecting, to be honest. I don't know if I'm going to have enough opportunity here to do it. Certainly will not be letting this trade go red at this point. So stop loss, I'm going to say now at 890. If it's strong, I can always have another chance to enter. I'm just a little bit hyper paranoid about the chop and the fake. So let's see if it can flush through here. It's gotta die. Okay, guys, I've closed it for a win. Small win. If this thing sets back up, I'll have another chance. $173.82 on that. Did not feel good about that reaction. Yeah, good call for now. Tough. So, okay, that's fine. It was definitely the right call to close that. Oh. Now all these like little failed breakdowns lower, it makes me feel as if the reversal is maybe the most likely. Right now we're back at entry price. That looks like a bear flag. I would say that that last trade did make me feel a little bit more stressed out than I was expecting. So I'm putting that in my notes. Right, which makes me feel like, okay, maybe the thesis was wrong, right? So let's wait it out a few minutes. Let's see if we get something to settle down here a little bit. But that's a couple fake outs, lower lows. No real separation under that 900, which then starts to feel more likely that it's a dip buy day, right? So 1 for 3 here so far. We'll see if we can get something else still. Huh. Like the argument now, right, would be that these two candles are capitulation more than continuation. So we've gone stuck right at that shelf now twice. And now we're making a higher high above that. Now the volume isn't enough here on the 3-min to say, hey, this is showtime. It's probably what's slowing me down here. Now on the 15, now this looks better, right? That's increasing outlier volume. So maybe this would be a 15 min setup versus a 3 or 5 min. And target would be high of day. Does that make sense? And there's two logics with the stop loss. Stop loss at low of day, right? Which would be probably best case scenario, but least likely to get. Right? Having a stop at 867, that's a long ways away, right? Whereas a stop at 822, you could get that risk management dialed in for sure. So this might be a little bit of a patient trade here now. No setup on the old ES. Yeah, we need another pullback of at least, 20, 30 points here, right? Yeah, potentials, Nicholas, yeah. So I would wait till you have a decent amount of separation away from that 98 area before you can. Basically want to see where price action establishes that next area of support before you look to jump in to build up your position further. So we haven't established any extra support above that 900 yet. So I'd wait a little bit here still. Right, if you can get a breakout above this confirmation candle, so above that 946.50 area, then you could place your stop loss to be, 911. But then if you're buying a contract here at 946, your average price is 898, and you're buying one more contract, then your new price, right, would be, in the 920 region. And so your stop loss would be below your average price. So that wouldn't be a spot where you could buy another contract. You'd have to wait for further separation. Right, so the point is you only want to take on more sizing when you can do it risk-free. Right now, you wouldn't be able to increase your sizing while going risk-free. So you want there to be asymmetric upside. You wouldn't have that yet. All things considered, with that 898 entry, you're in great shape. You don't need to do anything too aggressive. So again, I'm still one trade away here from being nice. Don't need that much follow through. But I wanted a day where I didn't have to fight like this. It's one of those days I gotta fight a little bit, which I don't enjoy as much. And CL could be setting up a little bit potentially. Not enough volume on the 3-min to call this a reversal. Could I? That's not super appealing. I mean, in general here, brother free, right? If you're nice to the green on this trade, don't let this one go red on you here now. If you can get further continuation, awesome. But don't do anything too greedy. Just think about that last trade. Like, I did feel a little bit more stressed out about that than I would have expected. Or more than normal. So I'm trying to determine what that means, right? Or what that's telling me. Does that mean I was hyper paranoid of the fake out? Does it mean that I was nervous about my thesis being wrong? That's something I gotta think about here a little bit. That'll be my homework this evening. Again, if I can get that low of day stop loss here, I might be able to get a better entry. As is, right? I'm still risking $1,000 a contract, so I'd still need to see, 25-point pullback, right, before this is justifiable. So into that like 85 range type thing. Like this is kind of your zone. Right, where you've seen dip buyers basically step up so far today. You want to enter where there's evidence of them being defensive maniacs. So as is, still risking 800, 900 bucks. It's too much, right? I can't click the trigger here yet. I mean, I could in theory, right? It is within my risk reward zone, but it wouldn't allow me to trade with my desired risk management principles, right? So I could justify an entry from a timing perspective, but I can't justify an entry from a risk perspective. Okay, so still watching here. $630 worth of risk. We still need to see like, 5, 10, 15 points, right, to pull back. Time of day is sort of suggesting, right, that it's more of a mean reversion than continuation lower. Okay, so still watching here. So close. Okay, so still watching here, still watching. $0.03 or 3 points, sorry. Oh, come on. Was that 505 risk? That's a tick away. Okay, here we go. So now we're within that entry zone, so we can get a good entry. All right, guys, I'm in. Average price $890.50. Stop is at 68. One contract. Whoops, when did that happen? So far, so good here. So far, so really good, actually. So let's see if this thing can get me back up above that 918 area. And again, going to be a lunatic with how I protect this, right? So far, so good, though, team. So far, so good. All right, so that's 400. So we got a bit more legs here. Oh. Weird day. All right, how's everyone feeling with this one? That's 500. So we're in good shape here, team. Really good shape. Like to see it get over that 918 with some enthusiasm, right? Again, I will not let this trade go red at this point either. Right, I'm up 1R, so if the worst case scenario happens, I'm making sure I'm protecting my entry at the very least. I feel pretty optimistic about this. I feel a lot less stressed than the last time. So let's even get over 920. So only thing probably that is bothering me a little bit, hasn't moved maybe as fast as I would have expected. Now it's the 15-minute time frame, so I'm not gonna read into that too much here yet. But I'm writing in my notes that maybe it wasn't a perfect reaction post entry. So let's see if we can get that like rocket ship feel going here. but we're, you know, a couple points away now from a green day. So again, working really hard here this month. I'm gonna have to spend my flight thinking about how I can avoid some of my mistakes. Costing me a few dollars here. Well, this I don't like. So 900's got to act as support or I will get out. It's a good bounce. See if we can do it again. Just feels a little bit like that pullback from 920 to, you know, 906, 904, whatever we are, happened faster than the move higher, right? If I'm trying to be objective here. So again, if I think about my notes, I just wrote down, right? Post-entry grinded higher versus move fast higher. Maybe not a perfect reaction. So still trying to trust the thesis as much as I can. But I wrote down what I think is a possible warning sign, right? Which should make it easier for me to close this trade without getting emotionally attached to it. Like, you know, if you dated a partner and, you know, the first thing that they talk about is some red flag, it's easier to ditch when you get over how pretty they are. When you have like that recollection, right, of that red flag. So that's sort of what I'm trying to do here. So again, 900's got to act as support. Come on. Come on. What a fight here. Still in for now. Still in for now. But that 900's a magnet that doesn't want to release. Okay, let's see if we can survive a worst case scenario. Come on. So that's 450. Would love to see it make higher highs here now. Right, that would be the best thing it could possibly do. Right, gentle pullback, 900 bounces, trampolines back up above 920. That would be best case scenario, right? If I'm talking out loud. So let's see if it can do that. So far, so good. 550. So again, I don't need much to be green here on the day. And that then also becomes a little bit of a demon, right? So I don't want to trade my P&L and hold on to this trade just so that I'm green on the day, right? I want to trade this as objectively as I possibly can. So I'm barely looking at my chart, like where I've got my executions. I've just got my finger on the X. And then I have my interactive brokers open up, and I'm not looking at the P&L. That's currently covered. So I'm trying to make sure I'm being as objective as possible here, instead of, yeah, watching that number and getting attached to it, right, if it doesn't give me that idea. Now, I have a rough idea in my head over what green would be, so I can't ignore it completely. But I don't want to get tunnel vision on the dollar cents change, because that'll allow me or force me or trick me into skipping things or skipping clues, right? Does that make sense? I'm trying to make it easy for myself from a psychological perspective to still remain relatively clear-headed. Now, it's hard to do, right? Hard to do. Oh. Up to no good. Officer Krupke. Alright, come on. Okay, see if it can fly here. Oh. See if we can hold 920. We're not going to get increasing volume on this. So is this like deja vu to crude on Friday? Okay, so we can get a big flush here, or big pump, I should say, sorry. Better. Oh. Trying to clear my head of P&L cobwebs here. And that pullback from 24 to 13 has been probably faster than the climb higher. So yeah, let's see if we can survive. Now, 12 points on NQ is nothing. Which is why I'm trying to not overreact to this too much. But then each little pullback seems to happen faster and faster. So we'd like to see that same level of speed happen to the upside, right? Otherwise I take this 500 bucks and run. Or 831, 631. So I need like 5 more points and I'm green on the day. Tough, tough, tough. Again, I feel like we survived worst case scenario there reasonably well. So let's see if we can break through 30. Who's still holding with me here? Nice, Steven. Hey, Mike, can't complain about 500 bucks. Fair play. I'm still trusting this for now. It's a nice green day here all of a sudden, so let's see if we can keep getting a bit more follow through. Okay, here we go. Bit more, right? See if we can, it's starting to move a little bit faster, right? Which is what we'd like to see. We'd like to see it now really rocket ship up, right? So that's 900 bucks on this trade. Bit more here. Oh, working. Yeah, fair play, Willard. Well, if your goal is still to follow my lead, I would still try to recommend doing a little trading journal, right? Write down how you feel about entries, how you feel about price action, right? And start to track those emotions, because that's going to ultimately make you a lot better of a trader and start to notice the patterns, right, that I'm taking on a day-to-day basis. Let's go, Nicholas. Yeah, and it's a lot of, like, honestly, a lot of trading is just a tremendous amount of, like, self-reflection, right? Because how I react to price is going to be different than how you react to price. How a trade makes you feel is going to be kind of independent to you. And so the more selfish we can be in that context, better things go. Yeah, 946 is reasonable, Nicholas. $840. It's really close to being a nice day here. But then, just back in my head, I'm thinking, man, why didn't I just avoid those first couple trades? What, I gotta make it harder on myself? So there's 940. It's almost $1,000. There's 1,000. So let's see if this thing's got some juice still. And then really the next most obvious point of resistance is this 56. So I'm going to see how this candle closes, MB. And then if we can get increasing volume on this, then I'm going to have some conviction that we can get some further follow through. If not, I'm going to take it and run. And each 10 points that it sells off, I'm going to get closer and closer to closing. So now if I get above 950, I don't want to see it going below 940. Right now, I don't want to see it going below 930. So I'm giving it kind of like a 10-point buffer. So if we hit above 950, I don't want to see it pulling back below 940. We haven't hit that yet. So I can still see this play around a little bit. But not too much. This is a nice green day. So I'm not going to allow this turn into a red day here again. All right, it's like $400 per account. Hey, nice work, Nicholas. You got your 46, right? I think you got your 46. Okay, it's got a bounce here. Come on, go, 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 go. Come on, come on. Still in this, still in this. Working man's day here, team. Working man's day today. $941. So again, see if we can get back up above 950. Oh. I need like Saquon Barkley level of explosion on this run here. Come on, you can do it. You could do it. Come on, come on. I'd like to see this 15-min candle close above 940. That for me would be very important here. Again, it's not going to be increasing volume. Unless something crazy happens. But let's see if this thing can fly, right? We're still in good shape. All things considered, pretty gentle pullbacks. So let's see if it's got the legs here. Ooh, that was not a gentle pullback. That was a wall of sellers. Let's see if we can overcome it now. Squeeze, baby. There we go. Okay, it's got to hold above 40, right? Has to hold above 40. That's the Alamo. Best case scenario holds above 50. Ooh. Don't like that reaction to 50. Okay, 2 seconds. All right, guys. I am going to look to close this trade. And I am out at 42. Out at 42. Not bad. 52 points. I'll take that. Oh. So that's a nice little green day there. Had to work today, but goodness gracious, I'll take it. So 382.48 per account. Oh, I should have held. Whew. What a day. Any questions here, team? Any questions? Nice, Mike. Green on the day? You guys all green on the day today? Yeah, good decision to have closed. Actually, all things considered, guys. Good decision to have closed. Oh. Good, Mike. Well, hey, that's still fantastic. It's not a monster day here either. But that's valuable, right? It also shows how important it is for us to trade our process, not to trade our P&L. I don't think... I need to do a bit of analysis to stop getting faked out on that first trade of the day. Because that's a little bit frustrating. But, hey, 2 for 4 on the session. Green. Nearly $400 per account. Like, there's worse things in the world. But it should have been probably more, right? If I could just get the one trade like this and not have to deal with that $800 of drawdown to start, life is easier. Okay, maybe I could reduce some of that anxiety. But also shows, I mean, just the power of our risk management, right? Gamify losing small, trust your thesis. Try to be objective and you can make your money back. Not every day is going to be a monster trend day, so can't make it personal. But it's, yeah, a lot of work sometimes. A lot of work. Today is one of those lot of work days. Nice, Nitin. Did you learn a lot today, Nitin? Am I saying that correctly? So time to fill in the journal here. 5th. 4 trades. Yeah, look at that. 2,900 now on NQ. How frustrating would that have been, huh? Yeah, it could be set. Sorry, Jeff, I've been filling in my journal. It could absolutely set that up. It might have already done that. No, we're a few points away. 10 points away from that happening. All right, so journal entry here for the day. Pretty long one, but I'm trying to be more deliberate with my journal entries. So slow moving day, we're at 2900, acted like a magnet all day long. Look for separation under that range. Look for bounces off of that range. Played NQ short at 29, 28, 25, and felt like I chased my entry a bit. Got stopped out after being green for a brief moment, but just never felt perfect. Got some slippage on my entry where I wanted an entry at 29.35 area, but got trigger happy and bought on the downtick, not the uptick. So chased price. That made me feel as if I was wrong right away. Chasing the trade is never a good feeling. Took a hit of minus 406.22 on that loss. Price faked out higher before breaking down to 900 plus. Right thesis, wrong entry. Second trade was on the same thesis. Now wanted to see a breakdown continuation under 900 and played NQ short at 880 with the stop at 900. Was green 5 points right away, and then 900 acted like a super magnet and flew higher. Entry felt good early, but then got stuck and reversed like a maniac to stop me out. Lost more than I expected on this trade. Was expecting to lose 400, and I lost 425.84. Played a third attempt to the downside at 896.25 for a win, but learned my lesson from the previous trades and protected this position like a maniac. Waited for price to reject at 900 for my entry and then clicked go. Entry was good, but the first move lower felt suspicious. Didn't trust it as it stalled at the previous fake out spots. Felt more anxious in this trade than any of the other two before, and that was probably telling me I was either wrong early or both. I think it told me that my entry was good, but my thesis was weak. I was able to close this trade for a win after acknowledging that. A strong trade shouldn't make me feel like I'm wrong, so I'd rather take the 173.82 instead of getting stopped out. That ended up being the right call as price then bounced and would have stopped me out. After that trade, I felt like my thesis short was constantly being proven wrong. Failed breakdowns, so I wanted to see a reversal thesis with an overreaction pullback entry. And that's exactly what I got on the 15-min time frame. I was able to use low of day as my stop loss and bought one contract long at 890.25. I was green almost right away and felt far less stressed out than on that previous trade. A better acknowledgement that my thesis was strong. The trade wasn't perfect though. Price grinded higher instead of moving fast, and pullbacks lower happened faster than moves higher. But moves were muted in both directions, so I could trust my thesis as long as we kept holding levels every 10 points. I got out on the next 15-minute candle that couldn't hold above 940. Sold my position on a little move above that area at 942. Price had rejected off of 950 pretty quickly and then closed at 938. So I was worried it was out of steam. I could have gotten a better close, nearer or above 950, but after that move happened, NQ tanked and sold off back to 900 very quickly. So catching the top would have been pretty hard here, and I was happy to finish this trade nicely green at 1040.72. Had to work for my P&L today and need to stop starting the day with a loser. It destroys my mental capital later in the session. Something to study over Thanksgiving. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with today's trading day. Some things that I could have done better, some things I could have done worse. But I'm not going to complain too much right after what was still a pretty strong session in a relatively choppy market. Any questions here, team? Any questions? We're good? Not so good? Yeah, I feel really good about that close. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Final call for questions here. Final call for questions. All right, team. So good day here today, right? We had to fight, we had to work, we had to grind. But ultimately, still did the right thing here today. Controlled our risk well, didn't get greedy, didn't get too anxious, and got just a little bit better, right? The power of compounding green days, far more important than compounding green trades or trying to force a P&L or rushing stuff. So I have no complaints about the quality of that process there. So, yeah, hopefully we can have a little bit of a smoother day there tomorrow. Would love to just have like a one-for-one $1,000 win. You know, that'd be a much easier scenario. But I won't complain. I won't be too bitter about it. And I'll look to keep compounding away on what has been a pretty good last 10 days, right? So certainly got some separation away from that chop that we were experiencing in our own personal accounts. Getting, within like $100 of all-time highs. So no real complaints there within that context, and certainly putting myself in a situation where I'm losing small, right? Trying to gamify that process as much as possible and playing the market for what it gives me instead of chasing P&L and getting like too tunnel focused on that. So all things considered, nice green day. Keep stacking them up, right? Keep getting closer to another big payout here. And hopefully we can keep kind of building up on some nice momentum. So same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, looking forward to catching up with a few of you here in our one-on-one calls here later today. I'll be able to chat then. And in the meantime, have yourselves a great rest of the day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for our next daily live streams. Have yourselves a great day, and we'll talk soon.